Hey, this is Francisca, and this is my mid-crisis life, and I'm still in my pajamas, and I'm still in my dressing gown. Oh, so nice. This dressing gown's literally falling apart. It's like all burnt in places, and I keep forgetting that my left side pocket has no seam at the bottom, so things just like fall through and then land on my toe, on my right toe, like constantly. I'm constantly putting my phone in there and then dropping it on my own foot. It's very inconvenient, but it's like nicest dressing gown ever. So yeah, I got a thought, but I don't think it's like fully formed. But I think it's somewhat formed, I guess. So I noticed recently, over the past, like, say, 10 videos or something, that I've gone back, not gone back, but, well, yes, I guess, I've gone back to talking a lot about myself and a lot about my situation and a lot about my struggles and a lot about what's going on in my mind and a lot about my home life and my mum and this job and various other things that I'm struggling with at the moment. And, I've noticed it happening, whereas before there was more of like a focus on, hey, let me talk about some things that I know that might be helpful to other people, a little bit more like trying to bless other people rather than just trying to, I don't know, trying to like spew out what the fuck is going on in my mind. And as I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking like, yeah, that's definitely true. I've been talking way more about myself recently. It made me think again about that whole process that I was speaking about, that head, heart, body process. And, if you look back over my videos from day one to like, I don't know, around day 50, I think it is. I don't know, don't quote me. I haven't looked back at them. But you'll actually see me kind of going through that process of like head, heart, body. And I think I've spoken before about like this process of head, heart, body being like a cyclical thing, like it being like octaves, that you complete one level and that's really just the baseline of the next level and so on and so forth. But it's really interesting to watch myself now. Or maybe it's not interesting, I don't know, whatever. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me to watch myself now because I see myself at the very like beginning in those burgeoning stages of beginning a new process of head, heart, body. So, I've had a massive change in my life. I've decided to bite the bullet and go back to work. There's so many things about me and my life and my worth and what I'm going to accomplish and my future and the hope of something different and the system that we live in and, the corruption that there is and the energy that surrounds all of that. And like, there's just so much in it for me. This simple act, this simple choice of going back to work, that it really has like jarred my equilibrium, right? Or whatever kind of like balance of equilibrium that I had at the time. And it's interesting to watch myself go back into my head. And I think this stage is really, it's the first stage, right? It's really important. It's really important to try to understand, to try to comprehend, to try to figure things out, to try to rationalize and analyze and create some kind of logic out of this emotional reaction that I'm having to this thing that's going on in my life. So talking a lot about it and talking a lot about myself and talking a lot about what's going on for me is, one of the most obvious ways of trying to rationalize and trying to understand what's going on in your life. And on that note, I would just say, if you know anybody that does that all the time, where you're just like, oh my God, you're just literally gonna talk about yourself again for 2 hours while I'm here. Great. Have a little pity, right? Because these are people that are trying desperately to understand something. They're trying desperately to figure something out. And I think for me, that's the whole point, right? Of it being a process. In that I think, or what I see a lot, is people stuck in that first stage of the process. We're taught, particularly in the Western society, and then anybody that's not in a Western society kind of subscribes to this way of thinking as well, because they look at our society and want to do things in homage to our society. And you're just like, don't do that. You guys have probably got it right, living in a small community and helping one another out and raising each other's babies and shit. It's probably a really good idea. But in our society, we're kind of obsessed with intellect. Hey, baby. What? Okay, thank you. He's done with the toilet. It's amazing. No, it really is. I needed to pee, but here I am now. Yeah, in this Western societies, we're particularly obsessed with intellect. We're particularly obsessed with academia. We're particularly obsessed with qualifications. We've created a system whereby if you're able to use your mind and you're smart enough, then you can progress very far on this ladder, of this societal ladder that we have. If you're not so good with the old noggin, yeah, then you can clean toilets and build houses, which ironically, if nobody did that, we'd be living in squalor without shelter. But these things are not valued, right? What's valued is being able to use long words, say articulate things, debate things, debate inane, asinine, like theoretical, abstract concepts. Sorry, I'm just like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, these are the things that we really value, right? As a society. Oh, how witty and fast thinking are you? Because that's all we need, right? For a functioning society. And now we've kind of like come into this era of like, everybody's a therapist, everybody's a coach, everybody's giving you advice, everybody's therapizing themselves, you know, everybody's talking about and deconstructing like, you know, their psyche and the human psyche and the sociological impact of the human psyche and the socioeconomic impact of the human psyche and how it affects them. And I'm doing literally the same thing. So I'm very aware of like the irony of what it is that I'm saying. However, I think the difference is that I think as a society, we've kind of got stuck in that mind stage. And it's become, to some extent, like the ego is so obsessed with talking about and thinking about itself and its psyche and how that relates to the psyche of everyone else. And it's become so obsessed with deconstructing and problem solving because that is what the mind wants to do. That is what your frontal lobe wants to do. It wants to solve problems and go, tick, done. But that in itself is creating a problem because you can understand something to the fucking cows come home. You can deconstruct everything. Like, by the time I was 19, I was like, right, I've deconstructed my parents. I see what they're about. I've deconstructed myself. I see what I'm about. I see what life is about. I see what the system is about. But actually all that did was it just burdened me with knowledge. I was just like, okay, just carrying around this weight of fucking knowing stuff and just being fucking obsessed with deconstructing myself even more, and it's like this self-fulfilling, egotistical, self-obsessed sickness that there is in society, where that probing isn't actually benefiting or contributing to your overall growth. And I guess the reason why I talk about it now is because I am in that stage of trying to understand, of trying to comprehend, of trying to make sense of what's happening inside of me, of what's happening around me, of what's happening in my mind, what's happening in my body. And I'm like, what does it all mean? Like, I need to understand, because without that, you just feel like you're free floating. You're like, there's no structure, there's no safety, there's no walls, you know? You're just like, just flying around all over the place. So it's really important, but it's really important that that understanding, that cognitive comprehension is used to better comprehend how you can love. That's the whole point of it. To understand why you do the things that you do. You're not a fucked up person, you know, you're not messed up in the head, you're not a cunt, you're not all of these things. Actually, there's a perfectly reasonable and rational reason why you're making the decisions, or why you have made the decisions that you've made. So that's why you deconstruct it, to understand why you've done that, so that then you can love yourself, you can forgive yourself. This is why you deconstruct the people that are around you, your parents, you know, the people that fucked you up, or that bully that you had in school, or your manager who just seems to be an absolute knobhead. Like, you deconstruct these people and their behavior so you can understand, and you understand so that you can love. So you can say, you know what, I forgive you. Like, I completely understand why you're an absolute prick. I get it. If I'd been through what you'd been through, I'd be a prick as well. If I was facing what you were facing, I would be a prick as well, you know? In fact, I have been that prick. That's how I know I get it, you know? So I love you. I love you. I love you. I forgive you. I love you. But it doesn't seem that we're using it for that reason. It seems that we're using it for our own self-involved, like self-centered, self-feeding, like iconistic, I don't know, like positioning. We're using it to become an icon rather than be iconic. I don't know if that's the truth, but like, for me, there's no point in understanding if you're not going to do anything with it. If all you're going to do is just continue to talk about yourself, and to continue to talk about why, you know, you do the things that you do, and, oh, did you understand this? And you know what I realized the other day, and I know that that's something that I'm doing at the moment, and I already said at the beginning of the video, forgive anybody that's doing that, because they're trying to understand themselves. But I also think it gets to a point where it's like, you're not understanding anymore. Actually, what you're doing is you're feeding your ego, and your ego is just fucking getting off on you talking about yourself all the time, thinking about yourself all the time. Like, what's the fucking purpose of it? The purpose of it is to understand so that you can love, like, get to the next fucking stage. But for me, I guess at the moment, I'm still in that first stage, and it's, you know, the new baseline to whatever it is that I'm here to better understand. I'm here to heal, because, you know, after that heart stage comes body, and you have to have understood something to be able to love and forgive, to then be able to release it out of your body. And until you do that, you will just go around in circles. There's no healing. There's no actual release. Like, it's still dormant. It's still dormant. Your mind can understand it all at once. And I guess maybe in some ways that's why people continue to go round and round and round trying to understand, is because the behavior doesn't change, the feeling doesn't change, the healing doesn't come. And that's why you can't stay in that intellectual stage. That's why you can't use your mind to figure out and release things from the body. Like, it's impossible. All it does is give you a narrative, which is really helpful because there are a lot of people out there who don't even want to try and understand. And they're just like, it's all just happening to me. No control over any of it. My life's a mess. I don't know why. Just going to believe that it's just my darn luck and I'm going to do nothing about it. And who knows, maybe that ignorance is bliss, right? But I tell you what's not blissful. What's not blissful is just constantly seeking information. Let's stop doing it, people. But let's do it until we need to, right? Which is what I'm going to do at the moment. I'm going to continue talking and figuring things out and being at this stage until it drops into my heart from my head. Yeah. Okay, something that I'm grateful for quickly before I go. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for the conversation that I had with my mum on the train like a year ago, maybe longer, that sparked this kind of like thought process for me. Not the whole head, heart, body that was already there, but understanding how this has maybe become a bit of an insipid, useless, self-fulfilling, self-indulging thing in society, because she's the one that kind of brought it up. We had different beliefs about how it could be fixed or what it means. She very much believes like society's going complete down the pan, and I'm like, no, we're just at the edge of some kind of evolution. We just don't know it yet. We've not quite figured it out, but it's definitely going in a positive way. So I'm just really grateful to have had that conversation, because it really put into focus what it is that I've been thinking for a while and how it relates to this theory that I have of head, heart and body. So really grateful for that. And I think that's it.